Hello and welcome to Pregnancy Info. Today we are going to discuss the differences between implantation bleeding and the periods. Implantation bleeding is light spotting or bleeding that happens when a fertilized egg attaches to the uterine lining, while a period is heavier bleeding that occurs when the uterine lining is shed. Here are some differences that you can understand these two. Number 1. Timing. Implantation bleeding occurs 6 to 12 days after ovulation. When the fertilized egg attaches to the uterine lining, it's a sign of early pregnancy. While periods happens 14 days after ovulation, signaling that no fertilization occurred, it is regular part of the menstrual cycle. Number 2. Flow. Implantation bleeding, light spotting, often just a few drops. You might notice it on your underwear or while you wipe. It's subtle and barely noticeable. Periods typically starts light, gets heavier on the second or third day and then tapers off. The flow can fill pads or tampons depending on the individual. Number 3. Duration. Implantation bleeding short-lived, lasting 1 to 3 days only. It comes and goes quickly, while periods last anywhere from 3 to 7 days. It's more predictable in its timeline. Number 4. Color. Usually light pink or brownish in the case of implantation bleeding. This is old blood being expelled from the uterus. But in the period, it's bright red and then turn dark red or brownish toward the end. Other symptoms like cramping, mild or no cramping. In implantation bleeding, some women might feel very slight discomfort or nothing at all. But in periods associated with cramps, mood swings, bloating, back pain, and fatigue, these symptoms can vary in intensity. Number 6. Clots. No clots. It's too light and doesn't involve the shedding of the uterine lining in the case of implantation bleeding, while in the case of periods, clots can be present, especially on heavier days as part of the bleeding process. Purpose marks the beginning of pregnancy and the successful implantation of an embryo in the case of implantation bleeding, but in the case of periods indicate that pregnancy did not occur and the uterine lining is being shed to prepare for the next cycle. Now we will talk about consistency. In the case of implantation bleeding, it is thin and watery, and in the case of periods, it is thick, red, and maybe it has clots. This point-by-point breakdown make it easy to distinguish the two. Implantation bleeding is subtle and short, while periods are more intense and come with additional symptoms. So share this information with other family members that they can also understand the difference between the two. Take care until the next video. Bye-bye.